All right, and welcome to today's episode of DB2. David Brem here with Daniel Butler as always. We are talking quarterbacks today. Butler, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, so you can tell from the title, we probably said something that looks outlandish. I'm not actually sure because we're going to discuss. But there might be an outlandish take you might think and be like, wait, that looks crazy. But then when you start diving into the numbers, you start looking at it, it may be not as crazy as you think, or maybe it's still really crazy. I'm not sure. But hit the like button if you're not subscribed already. Consider hitting the subscribe button. We do a lot of videos over here Tuesday through Saturdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, more just kind of whatever we're feeling. This week we're going to look at the top 10 at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. We didn't forget about you tight end, but I don't think tight end's really that interesting anyway. Maybe we'll do that later, but or some one-off video. But let's talk about quarterback. So I'm going to let you take the lead here or begin with top 10 quarterbacks. I said I'm going to let you take the lead, but I believe there's 8 quarterbacks. You could rearrange them how you want. You think 7 probably, and then there's a drop a little bit. But the top
Yeah.
8 for me are the top couple. There's definitely a tier, but I think those are in most people's top 8. Mahomes,
Yeah.
Lamar, Allen, Kyler, Brady, Herbert, Hurts, and Dak.
Yeah.
You might disagree a little bit on that, but that's pretty much maybe 7 or 8 of those are in everybody's top 8. So I guess I'll
Yeah.
I'll give you
And
that, and
and my
then
top my top 7 guys are definitely I got in my order is Brady, Mahomes, Lamar, Herbert, Allen, Murray, Hurts. So but yeah, that pretty much I I like Sam Darnold a little bit more than Dak. It is close though. Like to me that's not insanely different in mine. So like you could easily say, yeah, the top 8. I mean, I have Dak at 9, not 8. But other than that, those are going to be the 8. Almost everybody says. Do you have Darnold in the top 10 still, or do you have him in that 9 spot? Or
I have him outside my top 10.
okay,
Um,
so
and
I just really like what he's been doing.
yeah, just to give you, I guess, ammunition for that, Darnold is a top 10 fantasy quarterback as of now. He is a top
Yeah,
10 quarterback. So if you drafted him as a top 10, that would have been crazy because you didn't need to. But
yeah,
he's a top 10 guy. He's better
yeah,
than a lot of these guys that were drafted in the top 10, like an Aaron Rodgers. Who was drafted around 5, and he's much worse. But the top 10 guys, Brady, he's been sensational. Mahomes has been great fantasy wise. Lamar as well. Both of them right there tied basically. Allen, Herbert, Hurts, Kyler, and then Stafford is 8, Dak is 9, and Sam Darnold, quarterback 10. All 10 of those guys over 20 points a game. Terod actually over 20 as well, but obviously he's on IR. We'll see if he comes back. But those are all the 20 plus point guys. There's a difference of about 7 points between Darnold and Brady, and that's just how good the top has been. Those top few guys are just been absolutely incredible.
yeah,
That's why there's not much argument. If you have one of those guys, if you want to trade Kyler for Lamar or whatever, if you want to make a one, they're all studs. They're all going to be amazing unless an injury. So, at will, do whatever you want. But if you have one of those top 4 or 5 guys, cool. You're great. But I think it
yeah.
gets a
You
lot
just
more
don't have to think about
interesting
it.
when you're talking about, okay, I have a Rodgers
Yeah,
and I'm not happy with how he's playing fantasy wise. Uh, would you be willing to trade him for one of these guys that you might be able to trade and then also get something? Because depending on how much people value the Rodgers name, or maybe they don't do that, but you might still think, okay, a 1-for-1 might be a good deal, and people will think Rodgers is gonna be a top 8-9 guy. So I'll go ahead and trade him, even though I don't believe that. And I think both of us don't agree that he is a top 10 quarterback for the rest of the season. Is that
no, I
correct?
didn't even consider him. I
So
didn't even consider it when I was doing my top 10.
he's definitely borderline for me. But if you say not top 10, if you look at what he's done and basically every rest of season rankings I've looked at, he's either at 10 or outside top 10. So it's not like that's a crazy take. But then you start diving into, okay, well, then would you trade Aaron Rodgers for Sam Darnold? So you have Sam Darnold in your top 10, actually at
Yeah, I've got
8.
him at 8. Yep.
So you would pull the trigger. I mean, in theory, you would pull the trigger and say Sam Darnold for Aaron Rodgers. But not just that. You said Dak at 9. Who is your number 10?
My number 10 is the one where it's going to be surprising to I think a lot of people. My number 10 is Kirk Cousins. I love this offense. I love the weapons he has. He's got the talent to get it done. But just to be honest, it's mostly the weapons he has in the offense that they're running. He's got all those tools to throw to, and it's not crazy. He's been 13 this season up to this point, and I just think he's gonna. I think he's gonna sneak his way into the top 10 just based on the talent he has and the talent around him. I am very high on Kirk Cousins, and I think he could. I think he could conceivably sneak into like that 8 spot.
Yeah, so right now, he's a point off, 5 points off of Darnold. So it's not like he's crazy behind. Like that's the difference between 10 to 13. He's a point per game.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's 1 week he could be a top 10 guy if he has a
Oh
great
yeah.
week. One thing I like about Cousins, I'm not putting in my top 10, but one thing you already mentioned it. He's got two incredible receivers. Justin Jefferson is absolutely amazing. Thielen is great as well. Conklin is a serviceable tight end in the passing game, and then also the rushing attack. Uh, Not just the rushing attack, but they are great receiving backs as well. Dalvin, hopefully he gets back healthy, but there's a lot of production in the passing game to running backs as well. So there's a ton of talent. They're going to score points, which is something that you love as a quarter. If you're playing a quarterback, you're like, I know the Cleveland game was not great on between that 14-7, not what you're looking for, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the lowest point to. I mean, probably
I
for the
think
Vikings
I
all
think
week
probably
or all year. So, yeah, I mean, I don't hate the take. I personally think he's probably around 13 or so for me, about where he's at, points per game basis. But I mean, there's like I said, there's not a huge difference between 13 and 10, so making that argument is not overly difficult. Now, here's what I'm thinking. All right, so
I know
my
I
top
know a
eight,
question's coming.
my top eight are the big eight, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, Kyler. I think there's even though Brady's been number one, I think that is tier one. I'd put Brady at the top of tier two, but if you want to say Brady's in tier one, I'm okay with that. He's been there, so he's number one right now. So I probably should put more respect on his name. Okay, tier one.
I mean, it'd be
And
nice.
then a step down, definitely a step down. I have Herbert, Dak, Hurts. Those three. That's my tier one and tier two. We'll just put Brady in tier one. So I have 5 in tier one. Pick your poison, whoever. And then I have
Yeah.
3 guys in tier two. And then a decent step back. Even though I love Matthew Stafford, he has no rushing at all, which is just it hurts fantasy wise because his floor is much lower than others. So like Hurts was not great, but he still was one of the better quarterbacks this past because he had 2 rushing touchdowns. Stafford's not going to do that. So Stafford is my 9. And then who's 10? So this is tough because Stafford being at 9 is not crazy. Those top 9 are, a lot of people have that. But my 10, I went back and forth. I'm looking. I'm going through the schedule. And there's actually 2 guys that stand out, and they're both rookies. I want to talk about the first one because I don't think this one is as crazy. Trey Lance. I think the other one's even crazier. Okay, hear me out. One, he had like 90 yards rushing on his past game. So like if you're telling me he's gonna run that much, and I don't think he had a pass touchdown. He was very serviceable. I think he had like 15 points and 90 rushing. He's gonna have way better fantasy days than that. His ceiling is through the roof. He's like
That's fair. Yeah.
Lamar Jackson. I know he's not there, but like because of the rushing or Kyler, he could have those types of games. Those are gonna win you weeks. So he has also a really high floor because he's running so much. So he's a guy who has a high floor, high ceiling. Now I'm going to say a high floor meaning like he's not going to give you 0 or 5. He's probably going to minimum give you 12, which isn't
It's the Hurts thing. Like Hurts is never going to give you like 5 points just because he's going to rush.
Yeah, so if you look at somebody, he's not going to lose you a week. I mean, he could. I mean, I shouldn't say you might lose by 5 points. Having a different quarterback could definitely, be different.
Yeah.
But he's got that rushing. Now he is coming back from injury, and I don't 100% know if he's going to be the starting quarterback when he comes back. I think he will be. Kind of hoping he is. But
I think so.
You look at the last games. I'm going to start in week 12 is Minnesota, okay. But week 13, Seattle. Okay, that's good. Cincinnati in week 14. Atlanta in week 15. So we're getting a playoff time. Tennessee week 16. Houston Texans in week 17. That looks like a juicy schedule to win you your fantasy league. So assuming this is a name, Trey Lance. I know that the first game, it's not even he didn't have this incredible game, but assuming he comes back from injury after the bye week, he is named the starter. Even if he rides your bench for a couple weeks, I think rest of season when he is the starter, he is a top 10 quarterback. I'm gonna say it. I think he's and obviously he has the potential to be 6, 7. He could be
Yeah.
much higher if that rushing comes. Now I will go ahead and throw another name out there because I said another rookie. No, it's not Mac Jones. Surprise. It's not Zach Wilson. Okay, that's not a surprise. Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. The reason being, again, I know there's a lot of dysfunction, but sometimes teams thrive in that. Trevor Lawrence, he's a winner. All right, not this year. He's not a winner this year. He has been in the past.
That's a tough argument to make currently.
I'm just gonna look through his schedule. I know I'm gonna go through this decently quickly. This is his schedule rest of season. Now he plays in a terrible division, so it's already it's not gonna be it's gonna be kind of cupcakes sometimes. But Dolphins in London, we got that juggernaut. Those two juggernauts facing each other in London. Seattle, okay. Buffalo, November 7th. That's not great at home, so there's something. Goes to Indianapolis in a dome. Don't hate that. Home to the 49ers. Don't love that. But then we get to Falcons. I like that. At the Rams, not great. So there's a few there's like 3 bad matchups. And then this is how he ends his week. It ends his year. Tennessee, Houston, the Jets, the Patriots, and if you play in week 18, which a lot of people won't, the Colts. So an absolutely juicy schedule for their end of the year. So if they right this ship, if they can find, they have some weapons, they have some talent. I'm not saying it's the best. We're going to talk about running backs. There might be a running back that we might think is top 10, but they have some talent for sure on the offense. It's dysfunctional. It's a mess. You might be tempted to stay away from Jacksonville, but it's a name. If he's available, if you have a spot on your if you could just sit him on your bench, maybe you have to play him depending on again. I doubt you have to play him. He's probably sitting on your bench. If he starts putting up some nice numbers, there's like 4 or 5 weeks where you just might be able to plug him in. Starting December 12th against Tennessee, you might just plug him in and be like ride him to your championship trophy. So I'm just saying it's a name that is.
I mean,
it's a name.
It is technically a name. That is true. No arguments on that. I understand where you're coming from. I think it's a little crazy. Yes, the schedule sounds good, but the play has just not been there. So maybe by the end of the year, here's the thing. That is a good thing to know if Trevor Lawrence seems to have figured out the NFL by that point. If he starts looking better and better, and then that's the schedule, and you're rocking one of the lower top 10 guys. Maybe you didn't land one of the top 10 guys. Maybe you have Rodgers, you couldn't move him. And it gets that, I could see that. There's going to be very few chances, like situations I'd be in where I'd start Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, yeah. But, there's 8 quarterbacks that I have above him that I think are easily top 8. So there's 8 people in your league, unless somebody owns multiples of them, some wacko.
Which could easily have happened with some of the guys who snuck in there.
But they might just not move on to him, or they just be like, I'll play this guy on his bye week instead of trading him, and who knows. But he was a top 10 quarterback in week 5. It was because he had a rushing touchdown. That always, skyrockets him. Yeah. It's not like he was great, but he had 7 carries for 28 yards and a rushing touchdown. Anytime you get 9 points almost from rushing, you're probably going to be a decent quarterback that week. Trey Lance didn't have a touchdown through the pass game, didn't throw for a lot, so he didn't have his you're expecting better things if he runs for 90 yards. Trevor Lawrence though, if he's gonna rush, get a little bit of rushing in there, maybe a few rushing touchdowns, and finds Dan Arnold looks like a nice tight end. You obviously have the Tavon Austin. No, maybe not Tavon Austin, though he had a solid week. You have Marvin Jones, who I think is super talented. He just hasn't worked right now. You have Chenault, James Robinson, obviously, for the offense. It's not like it's a terrible offense. Like, they have weapons. It's just, it's kind of dysfunctional right now. So
just a little bit.
Well, we'll see. It's just something. I'm not saying he's a top 10. I'm just saying I'm going to put Trey Lance at 10. No, I am doing that. But
that I don't agree with, but I see where you're coming from.
assuming Trey Lance is the starter, by the way, there has
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
that caveat.
absolutely.
But if he is top 10 rest of the season, I think Trevor Lawrence has the potential to be that as well. If they kind of right the ship, we'll see Miami, we'll see a few games here, maybe against these tougher defenses, see if he's able to be decent, and then maybe we'll feel a lot better going into those last handful of weeks where he's got those cupcakes because the AFC South is absolutely terrible.
No argument on that one. So, a couple of names that you probably didn't expect to hear on a top 10 quarterback list. Hopefully, something to think about. Some guys to check out. If you got deep benches, maybe some guys to stash for later in the year. Hopefully, we helped you out a little bit. If you made it this far, thank you, much appreciated. Hit that like button, really helps us out. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't. We are putting out 5 episodes a week. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are pretty regimented. Tuesdays, injuries waiver. Wednesdays, go through all the games for the next week. The other 3, we're just going to call them floating for now because we're not 100% sure. This week, it's top 10s. So come back tomorrow. We'll be talking running backs, our top 10 running backs. I think there'll be a couple names in there that surprise you. And anything else you got for him?
Okay, real quick. I'm not 100% done, but I promise. Just if you made it this far, yeah, hit the like, subscribe, all that stuff. That's great. But Aaron Rodgers, you're saying Sam Darnold over Aaron Rodgers, right? Darnold, Cousins, both over Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you some more ammunition here. I'm saying Trey Lance, Stafford over Rodgers. All right, hear me out. All right, this is their schedule. Washington football team. Okay, well, they actually have Chicago this upcoming week. Washington football team, Arizona, Kansas City. Okay, not great, but listen to this. This is like the last 8 games. Seattle. Okay, that's fine, but Minnesota, at Minnesota, the Rams, the Bears, the Ravens, the Browns, the Vikings, and then the Lions, but you're probably not paying there. That is a very hard schedule. Not a great quarterback friendly schedule. Just something, again, if you believe. Maybe he's, Aaron Rodgers, and it doesn't matter who they're playing. It might be the case because I'm not saying he's not a top 5 quarterback, but fantasy wise, I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to happen. Not top 10. Just more ammunition there. Check it out. Check out the schedules, It's just.
I'm not even mad at you for hijacking my outro now.
All right, but thank you guys so much. You guys are great. Thanks for listening. And yeah, we'll be back with running backs tomorrow. So make sure to check that out. Or if you're from the future, check out the running back video as well. Thank you so much. See ya.
Yeah.